This is Justin Case of America Newscape, honored to be joined by Jeff Griffin of Griffin Motivation during this Teachers Appreciation Week, sharing a few perspectives. Hello, Jeff. Welcome back to America Newscape.
Thanks for having me, Justin. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. When we started doing this, when we embarked on doing this Education Week, basically, and a sincere appreciation of educators, I thought of you, and I thought of you primarily because you've been a mentor to me in our previous interviews. And I think you're a wonderful source of information. So, with that being said, Jeff, what's happening in Utah?
Yes, absolutely. Welcome to my world, you guys. Whoever's listening, whoever's watching, Justin, thank you so much for having me back here. And what's interesting, as you were sharing this, Teacher Appreciation Week, what people don't understand is I was an educator in the traditional sense for 16 years, in the high school level to the college level. And I've been the non-traditional teacher as well. And as you and I were talking about before is, we want the results. We want the results. Because I don't know if you've ever had this experience before where people promise you X, Y, and Z. And if you purchase A, B, and C or do A, B, and C. And so we have all these teachers out there like, hey, listen, you'll get X, Y, and Z if you do A, B, and C. And so then we do A, B, and C and we ended up with PDQ. And we don't want any of that. We want to end up with what is promised to us. And so that's what we're doing right now with Griffin Motivation is we've taken 16 years of traditional education, and we've taken what works with some of the harshest critics called teenagers. But I've learned, Justin, that board members are even more harsh than teenagers because they think they have all the answers. And if you think you have all the answers, you'll never ask the question. And if you never ask the question, you'll never receive the answers. And so that's what I started to do early on in my career was to ask the questions. And one of the biggest questions everyone needs to ask is, so what? So what? What does this have to do? What does this have to do with me? What does this have to do with my dream? What does this have to do with my desire? What does this have to do with my environment, right? This question of so what? Every time I went into a classroom or a lesson prep, I would have those words right in front of me. Capital SOWHAT question mark. So what? What does this have to do with what I'm trying to get across? And at the end of the lesson, at the end of the instruction, at the end of the teaching, we'd spend some time and share with each other what we learned, what were the answers we discovered. And it was fun, to make it interesting and interactive. I had some styrofoam symbols. I had one of a hand, a thumbs up. I had one of a heart and one of a brain. And I would throw those styrophones out to the class. And if you didn't think Matrix was real, throw out some styrofoam symbols to kids who are like, because they know if they get hit or if they grab it, they've got to answer. So people are, these kids are like Matrix and movement and all this other stuff. And I wasn't afraid to throw them at them because they were soft styrofoam. But the student who got the brain got to share something that they learned and learned, intellectually.
Connected with it.
Yeah, connected with it. And the other person who received the heart, they had to share something that they felt. Because a lot of times, if we're just focusing on the one side of the brain, the intellectual, the rational, we're missing the other side. And if we can get both sides going and both sides firing, then there's going to be some synergy happening there. And so the person who got the heart, they had to share something that they felt and that moved them. And then the one who got the thumbs up, all they had to do was just share something that they liked. I liked the fact that I felt inspired that I could accomplish, the things that we were discussing and talking about. But, for 16 years, I went into teaching, and I still do, Justin. And I go into teaching with that question at the beginning of my preparation, at the beginning of teaching, and that is, so what? What
Right.
does this have to do with me? And how is it going to affect me? And if they can't answer that question, I failed as a teacher. Now I understand that sometimes I taught it and they should have got it, but they were elsewhere. Their mind was just somewhere else. And so, but there were other times where I just went into it not prepared and didn't have that question in mind. And I could just tell the difference between going into a teaching moment with some real information that's going to impact their life intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and socially. And so yeah. So what? That's the first question that we've got to ask ourselves. So what? And if we can't answer that, then we're not doing our job.
Let me guess. I would assume that your students, and the reason I've invited the educators I've invited, loved you. And even if they didn't convey that they loved you, they love you in retrospect, in hindsight, because of what the energy that you brought. So I would also guess that you were an educator and still are an educator that go to sleep at night thinking about better ways to educate me to where I need to go. And you wake up in the morning with those same thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I don't know if you can see it behind me is a little showcase. I guess it's on this side, a little showcase of what I've been able to do and accomplish in the past and the impact as well. And one of them, I don't know if you can see it behind the yellow jersey, is a letter from the student body officer, the president, the student body president of BYU, Brigham Young University, and she was one of my students in high school. And she came back and she gave me this letter and a heartfelt note inside of it, just thanking me for impacting her life. And it's true, Justin, that right next to that question that says "So what?" capital SOWHAT question mark is a little statement that says they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That's true.
And that's so important, in my opinion, is to make sure that there's you know there's an altruistic, some people might call me Pollyannish or that have rose-colored glasses or something like that. You're like, you haven't been in my classroom. You're like, you haven't done with these people and whatnot.
Pollyanna.
And I get that. I do. I get it. And people may not, believe me or not. They might just say, Griff, what world are you in? But really, I've learned that, if I can go in there and let them know that I care about them and they're about their success, it's amazing what they give back to me. And I've learned that so whatever I give out comes back. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, 100% of the time, but it happens a high percentage of the time. And so that's my approach, is to make sure that to give them the energy, to give them the emotion, to give them the sense that they care. Because if they know that I don't care, then they don't care what I know.
Well, Jeff, what I've learned about you, Pollyanna, I don't think, I don't know who gave you that moniker, but I would say you're more of an Admiral Halsey. You're going to charge through this and we're going to get this done. And you are going to lead me to where I need to go. And you're going to do that with enthusiasm and advocacy for whoever you're trying to help, whether it was a student back in the day or if it's a business executive tomorrow morning. Because as executives, as we get older, it's not that we don't want to hear what you have to say, is we don't think we can afford the time. But I would contend that we have to find the time. We need to make the time. We need to stay open, and we need to absorb what people like you have to tell us, because we don't have all the answers. I know you don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. But anybody that can get me down the road a little bit further, that's very valuable. And it's that education aspect that it's how you sell it to me. And I'm probably the worst student in the world. You need to show me, make me believe, I will resist you. And, we talk about the teachers that I had the least use for, and I go back now as an adult and I reflect on them, they were the ones that advocated the most for me. They were the ones that made it tougher for me. And that's exactly what I needed. And they were bright enough to recognize that. So even though I may have made their lives a little miserable back in the day, I do respect them, and I have to love what they tried to do to help me.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. In fact, you look back in your life and you're like, what teacher had the greatest impact on your life? And it may not have been a formal teacher, right? It could have been somebody else who's just in your community who just had an impact on you that taught you something. And as you were sharing this, and you're like, it's not Pollyannish. It's what'd you say, Admiral?
Admiral Halsey, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Admiral Halsey. It reminded me of the time when here I am. I'm going and training with the Navy SEALs back in 2019, and I knew exactly where they were going, and I'm just sitting back here kind of laughing. Now, if you don't know who I am, I am paralyzed, right? I always like to address the elephant in the room and tell people how good looking I am.
Yeah,
and I'm just completely joking about that. But I come rolling on a stage and I address the elephant in the room. And I'm like, you know what? I may be physically paralyzed, but I think most of us, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency. So when I got a phone call to go and train with the Navy SEALs, I'm like, you do realize I'm in a wheelchair, right? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, okay, I'm coming as long as you don't change anything. And so day one, we're there, we're doing burpees, we're getting up. I'm using the person in front of me's shoulder to get up and to get down and do all these things. And they're giving everybody a hard time, and I knew what's coming. And so this is with a group of executives, right? And
right.
So I wanted to stand out. Even though I couldn't stand up, I wanted to stand out. And I wanted to make an impression on them, and I wanted to teach them that we are so much more than we think. And these guys are great individuals who have accomplished a ton, who have been taught a lot, who are now, paying it forward. And it sure enough, it came where the instructor's like, there's somebody in front of us. He's firing him, getting rid of him. He's like, who wants to come up now? And no one's saying anything. And I'm like, I'm in. I'm in. Give it to me. And so everyone's thinking, oh, great, the handicapped guy is going to lead us. And the paralyzed guy is going to lead us in burpees. And so it was great to get in the front there. I had the guy who I was holding on the shoulder drag me to the front. I'm like, whether you like this or not, you're now in the front with me. And we're there in the front. We're trying to do some little burpees here and other things. And it was just an eye opener for me that anybody and everybody can teach if they have that desire and if they're willing to give back. And what I've learned is there's so many people in this world that believe they don't have anything to give back. And that's not the case. It really is not. And so, what we need to do here is we need to identify what it is that we're good at. And there is something that we're all good at. And the key is to identify it and then to pass it forward and then to expand those talents that we've developed and we've discovered, and teachers have an opportunity to do that. But here's the sad thing, Justin, and I'm not going to diss the public education, but I've noticed that there's been there's been an obvious trend of where a lot of these teachers who are teaching us what to do have never done it themselves.
That's true.
It's just theory and conjecture and all that other stuff. And so, as I mentioned before, during those 16 years, I discovered some flecks of gold that I defined and refined and forged into some gold nuggets that I believe that any student, any pupil, anybody who wants to improve their lot, that wants to get unstuck and get back up, move forward, and become greater than they already are, if they will implement these 10 gold nuggets, that they can become world record learners and teachers, and it's duplicatable, and so we were starting to use these gold nuggets on some of the harshest critics called teenagers and we were getting results, predictable results. And then we were starting to take it out into the boardrooms and the executive rooms, and we're still teaching. In fact, I just got tapped on the shoulder from Forbes to be their mental coach, their mental teacher. And so I've learned that everything we do, everything we learn begins with a thought and begins with our mind. And so we've got to practice developing how to use our mind and how to develop that to where we can expand our talents and our tools and our skills. And we can give people new skills and new talents, but if we don't give them new techniques to train their mind, they're going to use the new tools and techniques the same way they use the old ones. It reminds me of Dances with Wolves. I don't know if you remember that show. Kevin Costner's character is helping the Indians win this battle. He has guns at the fort. He goes and gets them. He brings the guns back, gives them to the Indians. And the first scene that you see there is this Indian using the gun like a hatchet, just nailing somebody on the side of the head. And Kevin Costner's character turns to him and says, "Shoot the guy." And so, we got to stop using new techniques and tools the old way.
Well, yeah, and to recognize, you said something very powerful. Everybody can be a teacher. When I was a youngster working in the produce department of a large grocery chain, the produce managers taught me how to select produce, how to interact with the customers, and it was a gift. And slowly I started to garner that gift. And, it's funny, even as a dinosaur in these days, if you want somebody to pick out a good watermelon for you, I'm the person. And if I start doing it in the grocery store, everybody will come up to me and ask me to pick them out a watermelon. When we moved to the desert Southwest and what they call Mexican papayas, it's very hard to get a good one. Finally, I grabbed the produce manager. I said, "I need you to help me. I need you to take as much time as possible to teach me how to pick a good papaya." And he told me, hesitantly, that he did not know. And I said, no, he was gonna keep that as proprietary information.
Yeah.
And when I told him he knew and he had to show me, he decided to show me, and he and I became friends at that point. And I would help other people now. So now I help other people in the grocery store pick out good Mexican papayas, and there is a trick to it.
Well, I want to know your trick for your watermelon. Please teach me. Teach me how to pick a good watermelon, because it's a bust most of the time. Pun intended.
Well, first they have to be decent watermelons, but the trick back in the day, and I believe it hasn't changed, even with genetically modified watermelons, it's going to be the same. You're looking for a ripened watermelon, and it's a water content, but there's a way to test the consistency of the inside of that watermelon so it's not all mushy. And what you do is you hold it in the palm of one hand and you tap the top. And what you'll feel in the palm of your hand is a vibration. And as you start working with that, you start to know that this is a good one, this is an all right one. But to me, it's a resonating vibration that I feel in the palm of my other hand. And I've stood there with watermelon people, and there's a famous moment in time that at a farmer's market where I went into a trailer to pick out a watermelon that had 1,000 watermelons in it, and I'm testing them, and I walk out with one, and the lady thought that I worked with the vendor. I believe I spent about an hour picking out 400 watermelons, and the guy that was running the stand just thought it was hilarious. He goes, "Why did you do that?" I said, "Why don't you do that?" I said, "You'll sell more watermelons."
Yeah.
Too many of us think that what we know is proprietary, and nothing I know is proprietary. I may not have time to teach you, but I didn't invent any of it. Mm-mm. So, and I think that's some of the beauty in what you do, Jeff. You enthusiastically try and take me there, and that's a gift in itself. That's a gift in itself.
Thank you. You took me, Justin, to the watermelon stand. I'm thinking about people are telling me to push in that stem little thing there. All these other
bee stings. Bee stings. Oh no, the bees. The bees don't know. I've heard so much of stuff from people, and it's just a matter of, you want a good cantaloupe. If you walk by the cantaloupe stand, you can't smell cantaloupe. They're not good cantaloupe. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
say,
Well, I'm ready to go to the store right now, start tapping on the watermelon and experimenting with that. I love that. In fact, you just taught me something right there, and you also sparked something as well because, again, we're here to rediscover. I
right,
really do believe rediscover what we learned at one time, and again, and if we're not rediscovering, as you mentioned, you know what? We've learned it somewhere. We learned it from somebody. And these 10 gold nuggets that I've put together are probably very similar to somebody else's things and whatnot. And truth is truth. And one thing I've learned here is truth is more caught than taught.
yes,
And so, there's the educators are important, but it's also the pupil and the students to be able to receive. And how do we give it to them to where they can receive? And so there's a give and take, and there's a dance that's taken place between teacher and pupil, and when it happens, both are edified and magic it takes place, and you never forget those moments. And so I appreciate this opportunity to just share a few things with you and your listeners, and you've taught me, Justin. I'm ready to go out there and get me a
a
good
watermelon.
watermelon.
Yeah, the wife will be proud. The family will cheer you, or they will think disparaging things about me, your coach, your watermelon coach.
No, no, no way, never.
You talk about reaching people, and the easiest thing that I've had to communicate with people, you're trying to teach 13 to 15-year-olds to hit real curveballs, dropping curveballs, and when you take on that task, and of course I didn't hit it very well, so I was teaching something I wasn't very good at. But when you take on that task, there's ways to do that, and but what gets in the way is your ability to communicate. And when you want to become a remarkable coach or a remarkable mentor, you find out 20 different ways to teach the same skill,
Yeah,
because those communication skills will only reach so many people. And
100% spot on.
I think that's your gift too. You will talk to me until I get it. So I'm jealous of the people that get mentorship from you online, and you are doing private mentorship for some, correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, what's interesting here over these last 20 years is the type of results that we're getting, and I want everyone to know that I preach what I practice.
Well,
And so I've learned it myself. I've lived it myself. I made it to the Paralympics behind me. I made it to collegiate level playing football before I got hurt, and paralyzed. No, they don't have wheelchair football in college, but so I've used it on myself. But what's another gift is being able to teach somebody else. I've learned that not every great sports athlete is a good coach, but
true.
not every good coach was a great sports athlete. And so, you can have some that are both. And so what we've done here is we've helped thousands of kids in the classroom, and then we've expanded that to where we've helped individuals. I helped a young man who was a police officer who wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and taught him how to change his mindset and help him mentally. He already had the tools. He just needed a little bit of an adjustment, a little bit of the tweaking to happen. And now he's serving our country with the SEALs. And so I've worked with individuals, and I've also worked with board members and senior executives. I went and shared some valuable tools that I believe are at the foundation of every challenge and every solution. It's the 3Ds. And I went and shared those 3Ds with this executive team, senior vice president, and she had 19 people on her team, and 90% of them received a pay raise and a promotion from that instruction. And so she called me back up and she says, "Jeff, I have a brand new team. We want the same teaching, but instead of just with my executive team, I want to expand it to 160 other people in my department. And so the impact can happen individually. The impact can happen globally, but really it's just in groups as well. And so if you're interested, please reach out to me. We've got an online course available for those who like just to work on at their own pace. So we've taken these 10 gold nuggets and putting it into 10 digestible workshops that somebody can do. And so, reach out to me at contact@griffinmotivation.com. You can go to griffinmotivation.com and purchase the program and take a look at it, and we'll be happy to reach out to you. But really, my desire, Justin, is to help 1,000 people. Help 1,000 people improve their lives. And what I mean by improve their lives is to help them get in balance to where, get in alignment. That's the best word I want to use. Get into alignment because, I don't know if you ever had your car out of alignment, but if that car is out of alignment, you are just struggling to get down the road. And so what we do here is we help people get in alignment to where they can go further, farther, and faster with the same amount of efforts, if not less.
Well, Jeff, I might be biased, but one thing I don't consider you as handicapped. You're so talented. You share so much with so many. And, you talk about you may have been an Olympic athlete and a silver medalist in a wheelchair playing basketball for the United States, but even that is a testament to your determination and accomplishment. And I didn't know about you hanging out with the Navy SEALs, but that seems like a great place for you to be. And I know there's a group of SEALs that you interacted with that are better off because of it. And I think the Navy probably figured that out too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. And again, Justin, I believe that we can learn and be inspired by everybody we meet.
I agree.
And you have inspired me and have helped me be a better person. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Because of the watermelon.
No, it's not because of the watermelon, but I will take that too. I'm going to include that onto that list.
I could just hear you a year from now. You'd be on the stage, you'd be talking to 500 people, and you're going to be trying to help them with your life. And you're going to say, I know a guy that taught me how to pick out a better watermelon. I'm going to share this wonderful gift with you.
And it will change your life.
Exactly.
A good watermelon changes your life. I'm telling you.
Do you have a final thought to leave us with, Jeff? We are going to have all that information, how to get in touch with Jeff and his company, and to read more of this video. But what do you want to leave us with?
Yeah, the final thing that I want to leave with people, as I started with at the beginning, is, I may be physically paralyzed, but I believe most of us, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency. And we beat ourselves up. We are our worst critics. We are our worst critics, and we know, what we're deficient at, and we know what we're not doing that we should be doing. And sometimes we just beat ourselves up more than we should, because all we're doing is we're just pushing ourselves further and further down. When in reality, what we need to do is we need to focus on what we can do instead of focusing on what we can't do. And I love the law of the harvest. And fruit is true to its nature. And this is what I've learned, Justin, is when we apply pressure to fruit or to anything, stuff comes out. And if we apply pressure to fruit, juice comes out. If we apply pressure to an apple, apple juice comes out. If we apply pressure to pineapple, pineapple juice comes out. I've never applied pressure to a fruit that I've gotten different fruit out of it. Although there's some people who plant potatoes expecting pineapples. And the law of the harvest is that fruit is true to its nature. And human beings is the only creation that I know of that's not true to its nature. Because when we apply pressure to human beings, what comes out is what we've put in. And so if we don't like what's coming out, maybe we should evaluate what we're putting in. And so you are so much more than you think you are, and you are the solution to impossible. You have the tools and skills within you You just have to unlock them. You just have to develop them, and we can do that. We really can. And the daily dime is one of the most simple things. We won't go into that right now, but we've got dream weaving, we've got daily dimes, we got dissecting desires. We take a look at the goals and what they really are, and we take a look at all the roles and different hats you wear, and we, teach you 252, which is an amazing concept in and of itself. And that's just the first 5. And we're not going to get into all the other stuff, but again, I want you to know that you are more than you think you are.
Absolutely. And when Jeff, in his spare time, what he does is he pounds out a few books, very good books that are available to everybody that's listening. So, Jeff, thank you. I think this interview was extremely important. I think you brought a wonderful perspective to it, as you always do. So, that being said, this has been Justin Case and Jeff Griffin talking Teachers Appreciation. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information about Jeff are in the links provided below in this video's Read More. Today's the day to subscribe to this channel, and please support teachers, instructors, and motivators everywhere.